Hey, what's up, guys? Christian Brindle here, and I am back with another episode of the #1 insurance-based podcast in the world for growing your business to Seven Figures or Bust podcast. I am joined with someone who has been on our normal channels in the past a few times, been a few years. I'm here with someone that needs no introduction. I'm here with the one and only David Duford. Dave, how are you doing today?
I can't complain. Things are great, actually.
I love it. I love it. I mean, you've been doing a lot of things lately. I've been doing my best to try to keep up with everything that your agency's doing, and congrats on all your success. For anybody that might not know you, just on the off chance, give the audience. I know we've done videos in the past, but just for the sake of anybody that is being introduced to you for the first time,
Sure.
give us a little bit of a Dave Duford intro from how you got into the insurance business and kind of your intro story.
Yeah. So way back in another time in 2011, out of an act of desperation, I joined the insurance business to sell final expense. I had a personal training gym, always an entrepreneur. That gym was going down the tank, Great Recession, all that stuff. But I didn't want to go work for the man and get a real job. So stumbled across insurance, saw some MLM stuff, luckily avoided that, and then came across final expense. Liked the idea, one call close, pretty much an activity-based sales process, not a lot of technical training or know-how needed.
Yeah.
And jumped into it that way. Did well for my first 6 months, struggled with the last 6 months of the first year until I failed out of the business because of my stupid decisions. And then got back in a couple of months later and worked on bringing myself up to full-time, and have been here ever since. Eventually started building an agency in 2013, started my YouTube channel in 2014, and since then it's been a nice upward trajectory.
Yeah. I remember, so I started as an agent in 2014 on the Medicare side. And I remember, Medicare was my primary trade, but we always tried to do our best to do a better job, I guess, of cross-selling final expense. We do well for a little while, and then we'd kind of get lazy with it, fell off with it, that kind of thing, kind of come back to it. I remember watching your videos. I think the first time I saw one of your videos was 2015, if I remember correctly. And, I kind of look at you a lot as a pioneer, right? For putting information out there on what you were doing that was working and kind of helping agents. Back then, I think it was really just you and Chris Westfall, on the Medicare side. And so talk a little bit about, what made you want to get started with YouTube? Like, where did the idea come from early on?
I watched Doug Massey put up a video, and I thought he was a complete moron for sharing his information for free. Doug Massey's another YouTuber.
Yes.
But then I thought about it and realized, he's actually a genius. I mean, he's giving away really good content for free without anything in expectation of return. And I don't know what builds trust better than that, because this business is in desperate need of trustworthy people to believe in, to follow.
Yeah.
And so my take was, well, hell, I guess I can do the same thing too. So I started filming, giving it away, and my whole thinking was, if I could get in ahead of my prospect, they'd probably be thinking like, man, if it's this good for free, what's it going to be like when I actually join the agency, right? Because everybody else is telling you and selling you the dream, and that's fine, but they're never giving you like what's underneath the hood. And so that was always my approach, was let's talk facts. Let's look at the real reality of this business. And I think, well, what better way to sell someone on it than just doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's super smart, and it's, ultimately for us, it's worked really well as well, so I think
Yeah.
it's a great model. And, you, along with, just a few others, like I mentioned, are really pioneered the way. So props to you on that. Question that I had for you on kind of current trajectories and kind of current things that are going on right now in the industry. First things first is there's this new FCC rule, as I'm sure you're aware, right? It's set to kick in January 1st, 2025. And there's a lot of talk about just kind of really the impact it's going to have on the lead game and the ability of purchasing leads, and who I know agents can purchase leads from, and how the leads are able to be generated, and so on and so forth. What are your thoughts about this for agents? What kind of conversations are you guys having internally with your agents about kind of where this is going, where it will lead, and what should agents be aware of with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a dream come true for what we do, but also for the end consumer. I liken the phone, like we think of our software that's out there as like, what's the user experience like? Right? That's what every good software developer worries about is how can we make the user experience great? This user experience sucks. Getting calls all the time about
Yeah,
stuff that you didn't even request information on. Like and we use the phone so much that this law is going to do great things to protect the consumer
yeah,
and reduce the amount of junk leads that are out there. So, for us, because we don't rely on the one-to-many approach or this shared data crap that's really just ruined telemarketing and made it really difficult. We don't have anything to worry about. All we
yeah,
have to do is add in the, one-to-one language, and we don't see anything negative coming from that. If anything, over time, more people are going to pick up the phone because the intent is actually there from the consumer. And, yeah, lead costs may go up in the short term, but, I just don't see how it can hurt.
yeah. I agree. I agree. I think you hit it right on the head, right? Lead costs might go up, but ROI might go up with it. Cost per acquisition might be better, ultimately. And
Yeah.
um, you just have a better intent of lead, I think, in a lot of cases.
Yeah. And it's going to hit the MLMs the most because they rely on data to run at scale and, you know, um, oh, well.
Yes.
But in the same breath, they do bring a lot of people in this business that never would have been here, so yeah, it's going to be interesting how it all shakes up and we'll see.
Yeah. Um, Question about MLM recruiters, right? In our space, you've done a great job at kind of highlighting compensation models on your channel. You've done a fantastic job of kind of explaining the meat and potatoes of what each specific opportunity really looks like for a lot of these groups. Do you feel like ultimately those groups, and I think I kind of know what you're going to say, but I'm curious if I'm wrong. Do you feel like these groups are harming or benefiting the industry as a whole with the way they do business?
I mean, it's both. I mean, it's good versus evil. I mean, that's pretty binary. I mean, there's always gray, right?
Yeah.
I think MLMs benefit our industry because they bring in a bunch of people that otherwise would not have been in this business to then help clients that may not have ever gotten help, right? So there's a definite benefit there. Um, and plus, it exposes them to the business. And even if the experience is negative, it gives them the opportunity to do some due diligence and find out another place that actually might optimize their experience. So I've always compared the MLM to the business. It's like the MLMs are the shark, and then the agencies like us are the little fish that swim between the shark's teeth to clean out the junk that's in between them. There's a
Mm.
symbiotic relationship in a way. Even though I'm not in favor of the MLM business model, MLMs send me all sorts of business. And if it wasn't for them recruiting at scale, then I wouldn't have as many agents interested because it first started with them, then pivoted to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it makes a ton of sense, and I think that's I agree. I feel the same way, because I feel like there are a lot of people that I've gotten to know over the years in our industry that are wildly successful people, or maybe they were people that had a big impact on me in my career early on. That they got their introduction through an MLM, but ultimately that's not where they found the success, but it's where they found their introduction, right?
I mean, I
And
mean, I have problems with MLM, like, you know, reselling age data that's 25 cents a pop for 10 or 11 bucks and doing that at scale and
yeah,
monetizing the agent before they actually make a sale. I mean, there's clearly issues. I don't want to be a sympathizer for MLMs at
right.
all. But, I try to play devil's advocate because there's good and bad with it, just like everything.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So question that I find super interesting is kind of reflecting on the industry when you got in versus what it looks like for a new agent now. Um, what are the challenges that agents have now when they get started that maybe they didn't have when you got in the kind of early 2010s?
optionality. Too many options. The freedom of choice to an exponential extent is not a good thing. In some sense, sometimes it's good just to have one or two choices, or
Yeah.
even no choice at all. It's just to get in and get started and work with what you got. I mean, there's a lot of agencies now. There's a lot of people saying they've got the best leads, the best comp, and it's all confusing. You just have to remember all these people who run agencies are great salespeople, probably some of the best in their organization, and they're going to tell you everything you want to hear, but none of the stuff that you don't. And so you have to trust but cut the cards. You got to do your due diligence. I think that's the big thing. The other thing that's interesting, I mean, I started in 2011, and the idea of a telesales agent was just a rarity. Now for us at least, whereas we used to be 100% face to face in February 2020 before COVID, we're now 80% telesales. Like our top 20 agents, 80% of them are telesales.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing that's changed is remote work instead of face to face. And then here's our another choice. It's like, well, what are you? Are you going to be better at face to face or telesales? Both are viable models, but you got to figure out yourself like what's best, as much as possible. So probably just more choices along the way. Sometimes confuses people, and it's harder to commit totally when you're confused. But other than that, I think the fundamentals are still the same. You got to see the people. You got to go to work every day, be committed, even in the down times, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. You guys do some work you guys now, you're involved in the Medicare space as well as the life space, right?
Mhm.
Um, what are your thoughts on this talks and proposals of new CMS rules about FMOs?
Save the FMO campaign.
Yes.
Well, I've
Save the whales, save the FMOs, right?
yeah, I've so for your audience out there, this whole CMS thing is the idea is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're more into Medicare than I am. It's basically cutting the override off the FMO tremendously. And the idea is to prevent pushing a product because of marketing money and financial incentives, right? So
Yeah.
that's what they say. Um, here's the thing though. Good FMOs, there's bad FMOs that don't do anything for their agents, but good FMOs do lead subsidies. They're paying for their leads, obviously infrastructure like Sunfire and other stuff. And when that money goes away, a lot of that's going to stop. Like I
Yeah.
can think of my partnership in the Medicare space. Like we do a $75 lead subsidy per sale. That's going away if this is going to pass. And now, whereas it was, it was already difficult to cash flow as a broker on a lead program, that goes away. And now they're probably going to have to, in that case, carry the burden. And that's going to have an immediate impact on them being able to make money in this business. And that means less sales, less people helped. So
Yeah.
I don't like it. I mean, I think it's ludicrous. I think the business will be around, but I don't know how it's going to be impacted. Our agents can even be able to afford leads anymore. I could see the LOA model picking up tremendously, because so the agency can shoulder it, but I I don't understand it. It doesn't seem to make any real sense to me why they'd push it and not even consider the blowback, the unintended consequences that come from it, which are going to be major and felt by all agents. It's not just the FMOs. It's down to the guys out there helping people.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think like, it's the concern, my interpretation of the concern is that there's too much biases being placed on what plan somebody gets enrolled into based on extra compensation, right? So that can come from marketing dollars, can come from higher overrides versus not higher overrides, incentives, things like that. And
Why don't they just standardize that then? I mean, why can't they just
yes,
standardize our commissions? Why can't they standardize their commissions? I don't understand.
yeah,
Like, so just throw the baby out with the bathwater? Doesn't make
right,
sense.
right. It's the
Oh, that's right.
obvious.
It's the government. Whoops, I forgot. Okay.
It's 100% the obvious solution. It's crazy to me because we've kind of gotten into this place now, last 3, 4 years now, where we have a yearly final rule, that we're kind of needing to understand, adapt to, and we've gotten one, whether it be call recordings, whether it be 48-hour scope of appointments coming back, all these things, and I think it's just the thing that's wild to me is if you really look at the people that are running CMS and the people that are passing these rules, there's just such a lack of understanding about our industry. Um, and that has always baffled me. I had a conversation recently where it was like, CMS doesn't understand FMOs and what they do and what the model is. I'm like, they're making all the rules. How do they have no understanding? It's like they don't have any understanding, and they haven't for a long time. It's interesting.
I wonder whoever runs the CMS, I wonder what their background is and where they've been before all this. Like probably a lifetime in government service without any sort of, on the street experience as an agent or running a Medicare company, like stuff like this just reeks of it. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. And I look, I get their concern. There's probably a point. We want to reduce people flipping them into a new plan. That's just doesn't make sense. And this churning or pressure, but there's other ways to do this without gutting the business model.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me. Like they did, I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but before the proposal came out, so during AEP, I think it was like October, November, they did this like Senate hearing, where like they had some people supposedly from the industry come and kind of testify. And the three people they chose was a guy that runs a software to help people select Medicare plans, right? So like there's a million of those, right? Like do we really need, and so there's that guy, not an agent, never been an agent, and talks about some negative experience he had with an agent, with his family member, something like that. There's a rep that runs a local regional Medicare Advantage carrier, and then a ship worker. Those are the three. And there was no one from any FMOs. There was no one from any national carriers. There was no one like that. That's kind of where they're getting their feedback from. Like in their mind, that is the makeup of a hearing of people that are giving feedback. And it's interesting to me, like there's just nobody that is in the industry in a real way that has a chance to kind of provide feedback and speak. It's wild. It's definitely interesting though.
Yeah. So you think it's going to stick?
I think we're going to get some version of it. I don't think it'll be of course, I don't know anything more than anybody else does, but if I had to guess, I imagine that I think it's going to be a version of what was proposed with far less extremities. I just think it's not going to be as extreme as what was originally proposed, but I think we'll get some version of it. And I hopefully think maybe we see some kind of, when the dust clears, version where everything is standardized, like you said. I think that's the obvious answer. And I think we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, CMS gets what it wants. I mean, they put the 48-hour scope rule back in, and they want now everybody records their calls. And it's just they got everything. That's my worry is, there's not the compromise element doesn't seem to be there with them.
Yep, that's true.
Especially
that's
to bringing in sailors to testify about something. Give me a break.
Right. This video is brought to you by the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. Guys, have you ever wanted to get around other professionals and the best of the best in the Medicare space if you're a Medicare agent? There's something to be said about networking and learning what other people are doing around the country, and they might just have some ideas that you may never have thought of before. It's also something to be said about learning from the best of the best. The most successful people in the insurance space collaborate, talk with others, and they have a mentality that we all are in this together and we share ideas and grow together. The 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the premier event for Medicare agents. It is highly affordable. It has a great reputation of being some of the best content you're going to find at any event. There's so many events out there that are nothing but pitch fests, or half of the speakers are employees for the agency that host the event, and there's not really any real agency builders, or very few that actually take the stage and speak. At the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit, you get nothing but the best of the best talent from all over the industry. It's not based on hierarchy. It's not based on anything like that. We all are coming together as Medicare agents to grow and learn and get better. You can get information on who the speakers are for this year's event and ticket prices down in the link of this description. We would love to see you at the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit. I wanted to shift gears a little bit to back into kind of the final expense game, right? So what do you feel like when you guys bring a new agent in, what kind of lead flow is working right now? Are you guys mostly doing self-generation of leads, or are you still doing a lot of direct mail? What does that look like?
Yeah,
Because that's a question we get asked constantly, and
sure.
I'm always interested to kind of hear people's perspective.
So, I mean, like I said, 80% of our hires are basically our telesales, right? So that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
And all we do is either encourage the agent to buy a third-party lead, or we generate it for them in our free lead program and basically cover the cost. And the only platform that we use or recommend for telesales is generating leads on Facebook, not
Yeah.
opposed to generating leads on TikTok, other social platforms per se, but Facebook is just where the attention's at and the scalability is at. You really don't need anything else. TV leads can work. I think they're too expensive for a lot of agents, and a lot of them who would say they would work them won't, because they're going to have to put out $1,500 to $2,000 a week to even make it sensible.
Yeah.
Most agents don't have that, especially the mindset to sustain that long term. And yeah. So we're predominantly doing outbound Facebook leads. That's the core of what we do.
I think with the FCC rule kind of passing, I think that'll become even more of a great way, I think, for agents to
For sure.
kind of rely on lead flow. So I mean that's a lot of what we do as well. So it's always good for me to hear that, we're doing something similar that is working.
Yeah, I wouldn't do live transfers. I was talking to a guy just a minute ago about live transfers. Unless they're originated on an opt-in basis like Facebook,
Yeah.
I don't trust them. I mean, these guys in Pakistan with their call centers, they don't have to follow our rules, but you have to carry the bag if it you end up getting sued for a alleged TCPA violation. So, and plus the problem with transfers and TV leads is you got to sit around and wait for somebody to call. And as far as I'm concerned, building a sales force, I don't want a bunch of agents that get coddled into sitting around waiting to work. Like, I want to develop them to pick the phone up to work. Like, their first instance is, I got to go make money. Here's the phone. Let me pick it up. Right.
Yeah.
And I think when you do an outbound system and train people to think that way as a fundamental, that's really important. Is you've now made the connection between activity and money much more clearly than with an inbound system where you're in competition with other agencies to get leads. They may not perform as well out of your hand. And then, there's other agents in your agency waiting. It's just too many variables to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it's just not putting the agent, I think, in the best spot that they can thrive and be successful with that kind of model. Dave, I was very curious to ask this, and I went back and watched our last interview we did together, and I'm surprised I didn't ask this on the last interview, but I should have. So I'm going to do it now. What does Dave Duford think about private equity in the insurance industry? Is it good? Is it bad? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's good for the people selling.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know, really. I mean, I think anytime you have private equity that comes in that doesn't understand the business, there's liable to be things that they want or requests that may make things worse. I don't know. Again, I don't really know the downside, but it's because of my ignorance, not because I've studied it thoroughly and I have a decision. What's bad about private equity in your mind?
Well, I mean, and see, in my mind, I'm not really too hard on one side or the other of it. I know it's become a very big point of conversation in a lot of circles and things like that. And there are people that feel very strongly about one way or the other. It's the best thing ever for the industry, and other people think that it is, the worst thing ever, and it's kind of polluting kind of the industry and that kind of thing. I think it probably comes down to, like you said, I think it comes a lot down to who is actually involved? Are they looking to understand the industry, or is it numbers on a spreadsheet? And that kind of thing. So I think it's situational. I don't think it's all bad or all
Sure.
good.
I think, there already are reactions to this stuff, like there are some companies that won't contract with the big MLMs that have the arrangements with the big player in the business on P. And, I mean, I think there's always, if there's agents who are concerned about having to serve the master private equity holding company, I think there's always going to be market opportunities to work elsewhere. I don't think we'll shore up this business and be, an 800-pound gorilla, one person or one organization pushing things in a particular direction. I think there'll always be some level of competition.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And if anything, like if it does kind of start moving in that direction where there is one or two groups that, seem like they are dominant, it opens up opportunity for others, right? To kind of probably come up and kind of grow and to be like, we're different.
I
We're
mean, there's a
different.
carrier we're working with now, like they don't want a ton of business. Like they want sustained growth, and they want partners that they don't want to go to the PEs that hold all these companies and turn the spigot on, and then they can't even handle it because they don't have the infrastructure, right? And I think the insurance business is so decentralized that I think you're always going to find those players that prefer, a different growth model than go to the big guys and, just turn on the spigot.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, is there anybody right now that you are learning from, like maybe like from afar, somebody that you're consuming a lot of their content, somebody that like you're kind of watching the moves they're making in business and just kind of looking to inspiration or maybe even like just looking to learn from. Is there anybody like um that you go deep into?
Not in our business, not really. Um, I've always been kind of a lone wolf. I don't really pay too much attention to what my competition does. I mean, I pay attention, but I'm not, I don't know. There's nobody that I particularly follow that's so far ahead. I think part of that is my model has always been different than the big guys. They're much more MLM focused. I never wanted that, so I didn't follow them.
Yeah.
But there's still things to learn from them. I would say I'm like a lot of people, though. I mean, probably what I've paid attention more over in the past year and a half is Alex Ramosi, especially his old content. I think that's the good stuff. All
Yeah.
the stuff now is flash for a much larger mass market. But if you go back to the stuff from 2021, when he first started, like it's real content, like real content that actually makes a difference. There's a couple of ones like his sales division type of content, like building a sales team, like that stuff is just, it's incredible, or the
Yeah.
content on margin and understanding it and why it's important. Like most people won't find it interesting, but if you actually run a business and care about stuff, like it's really good. That's what I've been paying attention to. That's about it.
Yeah, I like Alex a lot. Alex is high on that list for me for sure. I really enjoyed his book. I know he has a few now, but $100 Million Offers book. I got a lot out of that book. Um, so yeah, Alex is a good one for sure. Um, talk a little bit, Dave, about AI, right? For me, the past year seems like maybe a little bit more now. Um, AI has kind of exploded in pop culture, right? Like it's
Mhm.
everywhere. You're hearing about it all the time. There's people that think it's the greatest. There's people that are afraid about, doom and gloom. Is it gonna, put us out of business? What is your thought on AI in the insurance space?
I think right now the obvious use for it is any sort of automation,
Yeah.
right? Like communication through text, email, that kind of stuff. I don't, maybe I'm just old fashioned. I don't think it's going to end our business model. I mean, it's good for us because we're required to have licenses and be human beings to sell this stuff. And I would like to think there's enough people that could come together to lobby against some sort of entity that has an AI capability to stop them from getting licensed and to stop from selling if that ever comes to that. So I
Yeah.
think there's that element to where maybe you couldn't get that in other sales models, right? That it wouldn't be a problem with. I don't know. I think if anything, it's going to facilitate some aspects of our business better. But I think at the end of the day, it's about people talking to people and getting them to buy insurance, even though they don't want to. I just wait another day, some other time, right? And I do think on some level the government or people will be demanding the government to protect against mass replacement because AI is going to have such a profound effect from all classes and all white collar, blue collar jobs in between, you know, people losing their jobs and stuff. I think you're going to see some pushback to that stuff and some regulations ultimately one day.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I think what I imagine we'll see, I guess, is it'll become a bit of a problem, and then we'll start seeing regulation.
Yeah.
I kind of after the fact. I think that is just normal government trajectory. But
Right.
um, so question I've been asking lately that I've kind of found super interesting is if you were to talk to Dave Duford when you just got your license and you had to give him three pieces of advice to kind of help, things you wish you knew at the beginning that you know now, what were those three things be, do you think?
Do the fundamentals. In other words, don't get straight off on fantastical ideas. Our business and final expense is boring and predictable. There's zero sex appeal. And if you just do what you're supposed to long enough, you'll make good money. Second of all, I think, again, this is over the course of my trajectory, not as a new agent, but when I started building, I think what I should have done different, I would have done more YouTube content for sure. Like it was sparse in the first couple of years. It's not now because it works so damn well. And then number three is probably get intelligent people to help operate your business and help you scale. I waited until last year to do any of that. I did everything on my own up till 2023, and it was great. But I had a glorified high income job, not a business. Now we have a business, and it's because I've delegated tasks to people, and because I freed up my own time to think through and problem solve. We've come up with all these great new things that I think are going to be awesome, like our free lead program, and which is very profitable for the company. It's very good at helping a lot more agents that otherwise wouldn't do the business. And yeah, I wish I would have done that sooner.
Gotcha. Yeah, those are great. Those are great. Dave, I want to be respectful of your time. I know we only have so much time today. Where can people best find you? Let's say they want to follow your content, or maybe they want to learn more about what it
Yeah,
looks like to work with you, work with the Duford agency. How can people best find information on that?
I would go to my YouTube channel. That's best. Just put in David Duford or the Dig Agency, and then just click on that and see what we're about. We've done thousands of videos at this point for 10 plus years, almost 10 years in April, actually. So it's almost 10 years. And that's a great way to get to know me better, how our business works, our thoughts on final expense, sales tips, etc. If you want to go to my website, you can, davidduford.com. The website's geared more towards helping you see if joining our agency is a good fit. So if you're interested in that, you can go there instead as well.
Love it. Love it. Guys, if you're watching this on the video version on YouTube, we'll actually link Dave's YouTube channel down in the description.
Thank
And
you.
we'll also link it on the audio version if you're listening on any kind of podcast platform. So you can kind of go check out Dave's channel. It's, of course, been a great resource for agents for, I mean, you said it yourself, right? 10 years now. So congratulations
Yeah.
on that. That's a huge milestone.
Thank you.
How many views do you have on that channel, if you had to guess?
Let's see here. I have to check now that you ask. So this
Because
give
now
me
I'm
like five
curious.
seconds.
That spawned the question for me because I got kind of curious. Selfishly, I wanted to know.
I get about right now about 3,000 a day to 3,500. If I go back to lifetime views here, I've gotten 5 million, 5.2 million views. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting if you look at the graph here, like I started in May 14, something like that. Yeah. And I really didn't get any traction on my YouTube channel for, I mean, maybe about 2 years. I started getting like 200 to 300 views a day. And then when 17 or 18 turned around, it started picking up even more, so it's a long-term thing. If you're going to do any social media, you have to stick to it and keep going, find your niche, really exploit that,
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen overnight for most people.
Yep. 100%. 100%. Dave, thank you for your time
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
for all
Thanks
your
for having me.
insight. Yeah, I mean, anytime we get a chance to, have a conversation, it's always a great one. It's always a deep one. And
Sure.
it's always fun, because I feel like I can have a conversation with you that maybe we can't have with everybody,
Sure.
just
Thank you.
don't understand the industry as intimately as you do. So guys, go check out Dave's YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to it, follow it. Dave puts out fantastic information. If you're not already, a lot of you might already be. And if you enjoyed this episode, the only way we know about it, like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.